we're live on Zoom in about a moment. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final week of AI Saturday Lagos and research cohort. AI Saturday Lagos second research cohort. As you know by now, hopefully, my name is Tejumade Afonje, and today we will be coming back to paper presentations. Yay! We have a little bit of spin for today's presentation. We are not necessarily going through the paper again. We did that in week 3, as you remember. So this week is all about hearing from our presenters about their reproducibility findings. And after which we would have an interactive session and close the cohort with some closing reminders of how far we've come from the week 1, where we were introduced to technical papers, to week 2, where we talked about research process from ideation to publication, to hearing about the paper presentation, then talking about how to implement and evaluate the research paper. So we kicked off week 3, which was our paper presentation week, with 7 presenters, and sadly, we don't have all 7 presentations today, but I am so excited and grateful for the 4 of our presenters who have been very bold to go ahead to reproduce the paper, commit to the end of the cohort, and share with us their findings. So we will have Zion, Olushola, Kausar, and Josiah tell us about how they've either successfully reproduced the paper or maybe the challenges that they faced, so we can all learn from this real world experience. Our first presenter will be Zion. Each presenter will have about 6 to 7 minutes to present their findings. We'll have also maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes for questions answering. We have enough time, but I've also mentioned that we don't have to extend the session if it's not needed. The goal is for it to be informative, interactive, and so you can ask questions, you can discuss. And after the presentation, we'll have the 4 presentations all at once. After the presentation, we'll have a short 2-minute break for filling the attendance form. Then we'll come back to an interactive session. We prepared nice questions. I think it's going to be fun. I'll be moderating that session, so I really hope we stay until the end. And after the interactive session, I also have prepared a short slide, like I mentioned, so for a closing remark of the cohort. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Zion to please share our screen.
Thank you so much, Tejumade. Good morning, everyone, once again. I'll be sharing my screen shortly. You kindly confirm if you can.
Yes,
see my
I can.
screen. Okay.
I can see your screen.
All right, thank you. So, like Tejumade directly introduced, I was to present the experiment that was done on exposure diffusion, learning to expose for low light image enhancements. And so quickly, the goal of the experiment was to restore overexposed images, leveraging deep learning that combines the physics-based model and with diffusion model, and to simulate realistic lighting conditions, including noise and photon interference to enhance the model robustness. So, which is not the focus. So the method that was used, they introduced they used the physics-based model, then added a residual layer, and then the progressive enhancement process. And so for the data set that was used, it was a low light image. They used a low light image, and the noise was also simulated to match real world camera sensors characteristics. So there were four different cameras, the Sony, Canon, and different camera types just to simulate the real world sensor characteristics. And the images also had various exposure levels. So some of the images were underexposed, some of them were correctly exposed and were exposed. And the model architecture was the unit based model, and the diffusion process, which incorporates the DDPM to iteratively refine images. The components were the adaptive resolution handling, photon noise modeling, and multi-stage. So just for us to be able to dynamically adjust the resolution of input images to improve processing, then introduce realistic noise and mimic the effect of the photons. And the testing and evaluation method that was used was the PSNR, the SSIM, the exposure error that measures, the PSNR measures the image quality, and the SSIM evaluates the perpetual similarity to the real images. Then the exposure error quantifies our well exposure level. So going to the reproduction process. So I had a challenge. So although initially when I was told to, that I was going to be producing it, I already checked if there was a pre-trained model, and if I could run the inference on Google Colab, since I could change the runtime to a GPU. But after setting up the Colab, installing all dependencies, cloning the repo, and downloading the pre-trained weights, and running the inference, I discovered that the code base, so it was expected that the data sets should be in a specific directory, and that was where I got stuck. So because the data set that was used was SLD, SLD, which was very large, about 25 gig, and because I was using Colab, I couldn't upload it to my drive. So it gave a lot of um, challenge. So I just, tried to check through the code. From the code, I saw that, okay, the learning rate was adjusted dynamically. The model was also evaluated periodically to ensure that, it generalizes well to unseen data and avoid overfitting. But I couldn't actually run the inference successfully. So what were the things I tried? I tried, checking if there was a smaller size of the data set on Kaggle, but I couldn't find any. I couldn't find any. Then also about what I think can be improved on is the documentation. I like the documentation for the script, trying to understand what's or what. It took a lot of time. So if authors could actually add detailed documentation, what each script does, how the input formats work for inferences, I think it's having it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zion. Do we have any
Mm.
questions from the audience? Today we will just let you ask question by unmuting yourself. Anyone? Oh, Zion, as you were talking about the challenge with the loading the data set, I was
Yes.
wondering if did you try to download it onto your computer, or was that like too much space it would have consumed? Because I was just wondering if you downloaded it to your computer, and is it possible for you to have like reduce it and have a smaller subset and put that on a drive? I don't know the challenges. there, but just
Yes,
idea that came to
I
my mind.
downloaded it. I downloaded it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I tried uploading it on
So
the
like,
drive.
so when you downloaded it, could it have been possible for you to reduce the size from like
No,
then? Okay.
so it wasn't. I just had it was like um so after I downloaded it, so because of the way um the code the code base was, it was going to run through the all the folders, all the folders for the different camera types. So it
Mm.
was a whole lot of um headache trying
I,
to.
and it was not possible for you to say, tell it to only run through one camera type, for example, or would it have been too much, um, like working through the code or like editing some things? I know sometimes like authors write code in a way that is not very easy for others to modify. Well, yeah,
Yeah, so I even attempted trying to use one of the camera types, but there
yeah,
was also another challenge of it kept throwing error, so which was more of so at some point even the runtime in the GPU was asking me to the collab was asking me to pay for more
mm,
resource. So
mm,
that was another challenge I had entirely. But trying to run it through just one camera type, I tried it,
yeah,
but I kept running into errors. So
mm,
though
yeah.
it's still something I'm still going to go back to because I'm actually interested in that project.
I was going to say that. Would you like? Yeah, I could.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to it definitely.
Okay, then I could work with you to try to figure this out if we need like if you want to really figure this out, like then like we can schedule another call to look at it together and what's
All
going
right,
on, if that's okay.
all right. Yes, that's fine.
Yosha, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious if you were able to understand. So for me, it's unclear why a data set is necessary to run inferences. Are
Yeah.
you able to kind of figure out why that is?
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
So from for me, it's unclear why a data set is necessary to run inference on a model.
Like it should be that you could use any kind of data set. Like you could use any data, like any image or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you looked into this and have a quick explanation.
Oh,
Not,
so why that data set was necessary? Is that the
yes,
question?
Yeah.
So because of the way the code was written, it referenced um that particular it referenced each folder. So it was like I had to rewrite the code if I'm going to use another data set because I actually got downloaded a low light data set from Cargo, but I couldn't use it because it's like more of like writing that code all over again. So the way the model was trained, it has to be that particular data set. So that was how the author wrote how we wrote the the scripts.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It seems like something we just need to spend a little bit more of time, like looking at the code and what's referenced
Yes.
and then removing things. So yeah, seems doable. Thanks a lot. Do we have another question from the audience? Really exciting to hear your experience on this. Any other question from the audience? Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, don't feel like, oh, maybe I did not hear something that Zion said, or you're very shy. Just anything that comes to your mind. Maybe it could just be that I don't even understand what you're trying to do. You know, don't leave this cohort without like getting the most out of it. Yeah, in terms of what the authors and what the presenters have tried to present, or even ask any questions that come to your mind. So. I'm going to leave it open to you all to ask questions. Like at least two more questions from the audience. I feel like you must have questions. Waiting. Okay. Do you want me to just call anyone? I'm about to become a bully on this call right now. So volunteer yourself, please. Okay. I have been advised to not bully anyone publicly, and then I should move on, and I will take that advice. Oh, Abdulaziz, thank you. Please go ahead. Abdulaziz, please go ahead. You have to unmute yourself if you want to talk. I see two hands on Abdulaziz and Ifeoluwa. Can you unmute yourself while Abdulaziz figure it out?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, Abdulaziz. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is it possible to use a subset of the data? She said the data is about 5 gig. Is it possible to use a subset of the data, like a small version of the data, like
Okay, yeah.
for example, in image task, for example, we can pick a small subset of data to train the model
Yeah.
understand and get an inference. Is it possible to do that for this project?
Yeah. Oh, thanks a lot, Abdulaziz. Zion, did you get that question? I think it's similar to what I was asking, but I think what Abdulaziz probably to add more would be if you keep the same folder, but only put a few samples into it. Maybe.
Yes, it's actually possible, though not for the training, but for the
For the
evaluation of,
inference, yeah.
yes, for the inference. So it's possible to use a smaller size of data. It's possible.
Like,
Since there's a pre-trained.
did you try that? I think
Yes,
this was.
yes. I mentioned that I tried that for a particular camera type, but it kept showing an error.
Yeah,
So I
the
couldn't
error.
even go, yes, I couldn't even go further because, at that point I'd exhausted the GPU, what's it called now?
Yeah, the
The
limits, the collab
Yes,
limits,
the
you were running
limits,
into
yes,
that as well.
yes.
Okay,
So I
yes.
couldn't
Okay.
even really explore that a lot for a longer
Okay.
time. Mm.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. Ifeoluwa, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question is, see how difficult it seems to be to reproduce, this particular project. Is it like I don't know, maybe a learning point for if people want to go into research to um to consider the reproducibility of their project when they're working on it? I mean, how do you find the balance between, being stressed about your project, getting it right, your research, getting it right, and all of that, and also not thinking at the back of your mind, how do I make this reproducible for other people? I mean, is there that kind of balance? Does it exist, and then how do you strike that balance? That's my question.
Yeah, yes. Thanks, Ifeoluwa. Zion, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to throw that question back to Teju because I believe Teju has a lot
Yeah.
of experience, so she can speak more on that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no worries. So the thing is that authors are always encouraged to make sure that they make their code available online, but this is not the criteria for accepting your paper or rejecting it. So the thing is that you can write code like as long as you explain everything in the paper, how someone would reproduce it, that is also okay for most conferences for your paper to be accepted. but that does not mean that you will do everything that the author said exactly and then get it. This is supposed to be the ideal case. So what I'm trying to say is that I mean, I think we just need to encourage more of that transparency in the community. Some of the best paper out there have code that is reproducible. You can run it once, but because authors also rely on a lot of frameworks, it could be that when they were writing their code, they didn't pin some version well. So when they put that code online, everything ran well for them on some environment that they used. But then a few years later, the research has grown, and you want to reproduce their work, and then you run into errors. Of course, really good practice, like the authors with good practice, they foresee such, and then they use tools like Docker to make sure that like you create an environment. In that environment, the code is always runnable, as they said it will be runnable. But what's a challenge? And I would how do you strike a balance? I'm not sure how one would be able to do it, but it's always helpful that if you are interested in a particular research, you first try to find out if they have some code, somewhere to start from. I think Jerry also mentioned that in week 1 when he was moderating. It makes it easier for you. Otherwise, you get stuck, and then you don't know what's going on. But as you grow as a researcher, you could also get to a point where you're able to reproduce in terms of like whatever the author says in the paper. You can write your own code, and the findings would be similar. But I'm hoping to hear if any other persons on this call have some experience. I know Yasha has experience. Okay, you're the already raised his hand. So go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to say this. So I just went through a publication process for conference day where they actually looked at the reproducibility of stuff. So you submitted your paper got accepted, and then there was a second review process that only looked at the reproducibility. But this is generally the exception. Most conferences do not have something like that.
Yeah.
And there's this phrase research code. Essentially, it means bad code. Because
I mean,
how it generally works is you write your project paper, you run the code, and then you don't have to run that code again. Unlike for production code, where it's actually running every day and it needs to be maintained, for research code, you need the resource of the paper, and that's it. And there's very little incentive from the authors to have really good code and documentation out there. And one point I want to say is that sometimes you have just the scripts that reproduce exactly the experiments in the paper. So it is reproducible. But if you then want to do something slightly else, then you really have to go into the code and pull their stuff apart, like you experience right now. They provide a script to reproduce the
experiment in their paper
on their data set, but they don't provide a simple interface to just run an image through that. Yeah, this is just the reality of research code.
Yeah, but there are some really, really good papers. Like for example, Citigan is well maintained, and I think it's because there's a product out of that from the group that created that particular particular, what is the word I'm looking for? I want to say paper, but yeah, English. I'm just trying to say that like such paper, when you look at their code base, they really help you to learn. I learned a lot because I told you the last time that one of my paper was based on top of that, and I think I was able to make good progress because they have they had a really good code base. I even learned so much about software engineering from their code base, and it was very accessible. I could also issue PR. Like when I run, so another thing is that when I'm working a lot on a project and I'm starting from an author's very good code base, if I run into error, I contribute to that by issuing a PR to say, okay, there's this problem here, and then usually the authors are very quick to respond and happy to accept the PR, So I think this is also how you can contribute. If you find the work relevant and helpful and you find some bug and you fixed it, you should create PR so that they can make it better for a future person. Okay, so I think we spent so much time talking right now on Zara's paper, and I hope it's informative. Thank you so much again, once again, Zion, for the presentation and for your efforts. And our next presenter is Olushola. Olushola, can you please share your screen? We'll talk about ADDNet, effective deep learning model for early detection of Alzheimer's disease in MRI scans.
Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm Olushola Remu. I'll be presenting my results for trying to reproduce the paper on ADDNet, an effective deep learning model for early detection of Alzheimer's disease in MRI scans. So this is my outline. So just a quick recap. The paper aimed to develop a reliable convolution neural network for classification of Alzheimer's disease using MRI scans. And they used data set from Cargo using, they trained the model using a convolution neural network, 4 convolutional blocks, and the model was evaluated using metrics like accuracy, AUC, F1 score. Yeah. So this also an image showing the methodology of the model, proposed model. So the experiment setup, data set used was from Cargo, and the classes include all of these: non-demented, very mild demented, mildly demented, and moderately demented. And class imbalance was corrected by small to make. So, and I mentioned this before, the architecture was using a 4 convolutional blocks, which include value activation and 2D average pooling. And there was 2 dropout layers, 2 dense layers, and a softmax classification model layer. Same. So, and the training details include an epochs of 40 batch size 8 optimizer and a learning rate of 0.01. The evaluation matrix as seen on the screen. So for me, my reproduction process, I used my CPU, and I used my VS Code and Python, and libraries used were TensorFlow, Keras, Inblend, Matplotlib, Seaborns, Scikit-learn, TensorFlow, and the data set. I used the original data set that was used in the paper, and I followed all the steps in the paper strictly. And yeah, I also got a code that the author shared, so I followed everything strictly. So one of the challenges I faced while running two actually, because I first ran my code on lab, but it was crashing due to memory limitations. There was a part of the code during the class imbalance that took a lot of memory, and I think 15 MB RAM, 15 15 gigabyte RAM on Colab could not run that part of the code. So I, I had to go back to using my CPU. And the issue I faced with my CPU was dependency issues. I noticed that the versions of the libraries used were not compatible. So I asked ChatGPT to help with library versions that would be compatible, and that worked well. Yes, so the first run I run like series of experiments. I had 4 runs. The first one was just running the code base of the author, just running it just as it is as it was. So I didn't do any change to the original experimental setup. I ran everything. While the second run was running the experiment without using smooth to make. And the third one, I modified the kernel initializer for the convolution neural network. I read uh, I read in the paper that the HE kernel is very good. Um, is very good. And the fourth run was I noticed that the at some point the model was not really improving, right? Using 40 epochs. So I noticed if I if I reduce the epochs, it will shorten the amount of time it takes to run the model. So I introduced an early stopping and saving the best performing model during training. So my findings, these are my findings. So um, the first row shows ADD net with smooth. That's the result from the paper. While ADD net without smooth is also the result from the paper. Why the run one, run two, run three, run four is my own result. So I could say that the model, the running on my CPU performed better than what was reported in the paper, with a margin of like 2 to 3%. Um, but for my own run, for run one, which is the original setup, had the best performance, while every other modifications I made didn't really do as much as run one. Although you notice the run four, which is the early stopping, um, was very close, or in some cases, okay, early stopping actually performed better than run one. Let's see, comparing 99.21% to 99.02%. So that shows that uh, the early stopping, that's reducing the number of iterations or helped with generalization of the model and reducing of overfitting also. Then when I compared the run to that's running it on my system without smooth, while running it or while comparing it to what the paper reported, there was a significant difference between the result of the evaluation. We can compare by looking at it. So without smooth for AdNet, you had like 92% accuracy, 89% recall, 82% precision, 84 for F1 score as compared to 96.8% for running it on my laptop. Yeah. So this also shows the ROC. This is a graph showing the ROC of all my runs. So run one, run two, run three, run four. And from here you can see that run four, which is the one with early stopping, has the best performance with an area under curve of 0.9875, which was just marginally better than my run one, which was 0.09875. So just a bit better, but it was better than what was reported in the paper. So this was the ROC from the paper. as well as this. So discussion, the results were closely aligned with those reported in the original paper. The AdNet with SMOTs achieved 97% accuracy and area under recovery of 0.9989, which is consistent with the reported performance. For my own one, it shows 99.02% accuracy as compared to 97.05% reported in the paper, and AUC of 0.9999. Is very close to what was reported in the paper. So I could not really determine what was the cause or what was the cause of the variation. But I don't know if it was because I ran on my CPU. So my conclusion, I successfully produced the paper. On one performed the best overall, demonstrating the robustness of the original model. The challenges. I also tried to evaluate the model using another data set, but I really didn't find another data set that was suitable, that was classified in such a way that this particular data set was classified. So the other data set for Alzheimer's disease didn't use this classification terminology, so it was quite difficult to align both of them together. So I guess future work would focus on producing more data sets that follows this kind of classification. We could also explore the effect of hardware on the model. And lastly, we could also explore using other techniques to balance the model and see if the results are similar. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olusola, for your presentation and great work, as Yosha said. I now I have so much question. I want to, like, first of all, the number seems too good to be true. So I want to understand the data set a little bit better, and what is the evaluation reported? Is it on the training set or on the test set? First, I would need to understand the data set a bit more. Can you walk us through what the data set was again, please?
So the data set was it consists of 4 classes of MRI images of different of Alzheimer's disease, different stages of Alzheimer's disease. Yeah, and the data set was divided into training, validation, and test sets. So this is the result on the tests.
And what is the size of the test set?
Well, I think there are about 64 images.
Okay, and now my question would be, did you try to what's it called, like change the seed, or like what cross validation essentially? So right now you said you followed the process of the authors faithfully, which is great. And then another thing one can consider to do is to do a different cross validation by changing the seed, and so you have another test set, another train set, and then you run the model. Did you do that?
Oh no, I didn't change the seed.
Because it seems like sometimes it's possible that you won't get lucky, and then all the results are well on that particular test set that you have based on whatever it is the author provided. But even if they have a separate test set, you can just add all the data sets together, and then you try to do like the split by choosing like some some seed, and then you can do that multiple times, and then you average the result. Then this would give you a sense of how robust that particular method is. And because 64 samples are just too small, right? If you run it once, like no matter what,
Yeah.
it's like it's not a lot of samples to be able to be
Yeah.
confident that like it does everything. And that's probably why like I'm very suspicious of the numbers. Like 99 is like, oh my God, you never make any mistake. But that's not the
Yeah.
reality. It's not possible. That I mean, maybe it is possible in some cases, but then I don't know. It makes me skeptical. My research self is like, not really. But maybe you could try that. You could try that. It could be a way for you to better understand if there is any limitation. I'm not saying that what they are proposing is not working, right? I'm just
Yeah.
saying that it would be nice to find holes, because that's how you know if there is still a gap that needs to be filled in the org, right?
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions from the audience though? I would like to have at least 2 questions from the audience besides Yosha's question. So I'll give you, thank you. If you're Laura, go ahead. If you go ahead, please. We cannot hear you. I think there is some internet problem. If we still cannot hear you, maybe there is a network problem. But you can also put the questions in the chat in case you can hear me. And anyone, do we have any other question? Like, it would be nice that you can ask anything, like anything that comes to mind. Can also be general, all right? So don't be shy. I just want to get some interaction going on to make sure. Okay, Yasha, go ahead.
It's not a question, more a comment, since we are doing a research cohort here, right? Would be very interesting to investigate what the model is actually paying attention to in getting these very good results. So I've just put a link in the chat. It's about these saliency maps. Essentially it focuses on what the model is paying attention to, and if it's one way to somewhat validate if the model is doing something meaningful. If looking at the right stuff to get this high accuracy, then we can trust it more. If it's looking at, I don't know, some label in the corner that gives the answer away, we maybe shouldn't trust it that much. Yeah, just as a comment to how one could investigate surprisingly good performance in a model.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yosha. He's also bringing out these researchers. Can you imagine, like, researchers don't trust researchers. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's not trust, it's about criticize. Is it critic? Is the word critic? Critic, not criticizing. So you have to look at their work and then think critically about what they're trying to do, and try to understand where it may fail. It does not mean you don't respect the work. It does not mean you want it to fail, but you need to be able to understand like the full picture. Right? So if you're Lua, would you still like to say something? You can try once more. I still cannot hear you. I'm so sorry. Do we have any other person? I'll take one more questions from the audience besides Ife. I think Ife wants to join back again. One more volunteer. Anyone? Hmm? Okay. That's, I respect that you don't have questions. Okay, so we'll go to our next presenter, who's Josiah. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Aremo Olusola, for that great effort. That is good. I really like that you went beyond trying to reproduce in the original setting. You thought about ways in which maybe it can change. You thought about like some initialization technique. That's already some researcher hats going on there, and I think since you're already on this part, you already can run the code. Would be nice for you to like maybe write it up. You can for your future like job hunt or something, like you start to build your portfolio. You can write about your experience and use and that can help to enhance your profile. So I'd encourage you to maybe take some of this feedback on how you can even extend it and maybe write it up on like have your GitHub repository, something so that you can point to that in the future if you'd like. I think it's helpful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll try
And
that. Yeah.
and I will be happy as well as Joshua will be very happy to mentor you in this process or by reading like what you have to write or like if you have questions
Okay.
like we can always schedule like a short call to just chat so feel free to
Yeah.
expand.
Thank you.
So our next presenter, Josiah, please, you can share your screen now.
All right. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning. I can hear you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. All right. So my name is Jose Anishola. I'll be presenting on reinforcement heuristic. So just a recap of what I did 2 weeks ago. So I'll give credit to the authors and their names on this paper. Right. So a recap is the major thing we're able to work on an hybrid algorithm. So they kind of made a new algorithm called Aleph Star. So this is like an inscription symbol of what it looks like. So what it does is that it combines a star algorithm, which is a algorithm, especially for path planning of problems, and they combine it with the learnable heuristic. So instead of using the fixed heuristic method of using Euclidean space or whatever, like just giving numbers for different distances or what the car's position, or they use learnable heuristic as they trained, they collected data of the car state and several others, which I'll be discussing later on. They use convolutional neural network to create discover that it performed better than the n-step DQ network. So performed better than the traditional A-star algorithm, and it's very efficient for multi-step. Was simulated. So this algorithm was applied for autonomous driving. So that's one of the things that interests me to pick the paper. So along the line, so for the experimental setup, so the algorithms, the code was written in Julia. So hence why you see this all like just like a code snippet. So the environment was simulating a car navigating random links. So we have YOLO cars. YOLO cars are just like other cars in the whole space. So the major stuff is the the vehicle is going to be at the middle of, let's say, like a turning or a roundabout, then the aim is that you must not collide with any car. So those cars are called like yellow cars, and it has to move around and it has to move around as the roundabout and get out of it. So the Alex that was built, it builds a search tree with learning Q values, as I said. So that's like reward values. And also we have metrics that are being used. I've not used Julia before this time. So I had to like download Julia, and I also have to install it. So around the time they made this paper, and that's around 6 years ago, that's 2018. I think the Julia version we had was around 1.0. So the paper advised we use 1.0 and above. Though I use 1.11.1. My installation worked really well, but the issue I had was it I got to a library part. So every other thing, well, these are the libraries that you have, Julia REPL. So every other thing will, but when you go to the KNet, so KNet is the machine learning library that the Aleph Star reinforcement learning was being implemented with. So I got to notice that it needs a CUDA compatibility. So it requires GPU. So I tried other methods and the rest, but discovered that it didn't work as planned. So I used several versions of Julia. Yeah, I even used several versions of KNet. I set the environment to 0. That's to avoid using GPU. That's when I was trying to replace paper or implement my code, but I think all was not working to implement without a GPU. So then I just tried to check more of the analysis and the paper. So one thing I discovered is that according to the paper, like theoretically, it improved on the n-step DQN. The fact that so the n-step DQN has limitations. It can backtrack, it can do the back propagation, but the fact that it can't check several steps ahead. Like if you look at this image I have on my screen, this is the vehicle itself. This is the autonomous vehicle. So the vehicle started from here and it tried navigating this whole roundabout till it gets to here. So it's able to like predict many steps going forward. For instance, it can, while it's here, it has like a multi-step prediction that the n-step DQN might not be able to do. So the challenges I faced, as I've mentioned, was CPU adaptation, and I later on discovered that I could have used, or they could have used, or I could have used, sorry about that, could have used maybe a different library, but I guess the library might not work. That's because of I'm implementing on their own code. So I'm implementing on the algorithm that has been written. So I discovered other libraries like Flux that would have been better off. So the challenges was dependency issue. So aside the fact the GPU issue, we also had dependency issue and compatibility issue. So the new Julia package was conflicting with several other packages that needs to be installed, like CUDA API and the likes. And I tried to resolve that. CUDA was a bit installed, but you could not just other libraries or other Julia packages were conflicting, basically. So one of the things, so let me just explain this image. Aside the challenges that was faced was that, so for instance, you have I talked about the learned heuristic. So the learned heuristic use CNN. So what happens is that the state of the vehicle, the velocity and input, the road network, the YOLO cars, they are being encoded in an 84 by 84 grayscale image, something like this. So this is what is being sent into the CNN, and the aim of the CNN is to output like a reward value. So that reward value, that's or like a Q value, is known as the heuristic. So you know that for A star, what we do is that we deal with the actual cost plus the heuristic the actual cost plus the heuristic value. So that's what gives us the total cost. So the major part they tweaked in this research paper was trying to trying to change the heuristic to a linear heuristic. So the documentation gap I noticed was that there was no alternative for non-GPU systems. And so for the paper, actually, there was no proper guidance. There's the missing details in the paper. There was no proper guidance on the parameter setup and running the experiment. It was there, but it was not really sufficient. I had to do like let's say a lot of stuffs on my own. I was like, this stuff should have actually been here to guide other people, but it's what it is. So another thing is that there was limited clarity on adapting to framework for different tasks, and it's missed specifics on the CNN architecture. So they didn't really talk about the CNN architecture or the parameters that were being used. Okay, so just to wrap up, so the evaluation extension. So possible things that could have been done would have been to test this Aleph star on diverse tasks. That's for obstacle avoidance. Though I know it kind of did that, because the stuff is that if it collides with any ULOOKUP, so all these rectangular boxes that are black are the ULOOKUP. So if it collides with any ULOOKUP, the reward, like I think it's going to be like -5 or something like that. So I know it did that. So another thing was they couldn't explore with MCT. So I guess they promised to explore with Monte Carlo search, because they did with A-star, but they did not explore with Monte Carlo search, and I have not seen that implementation to this point in time. So those conclusion and future work. So the Aleph star was actually good. Looking at the paper and the presentation they did at NVIDIA 2018 GTC, and the demonstration was also very good, though I was not able to fully implement. I was able to produce the sensor output, but when it gets to training the Aleph star reinforcement and learning, which needs the Kinect Julia package, that's where there was like a limitation. So as I said, so future things should be to improve accessibility on GPU independent systems. And also another thing is testing on diverse environments. So they couldn't really test on several other environments. And also another thing should be to refine the documentation to adapt to the current Julia package. So I think there's a lot of package conflict. So I'm going to end on this note. So I would love to appreciate Saturdays for this opportunity.
Oh, great
Yes, and
job,
everyone.
Josiah.
Thank you.
Great job, great job, great job, great job. So proud of all of you. Thank you so much for putting in the effort.
Thank
And I have some questions, and maybe we can also talk about if you would like to really get this working and what that would entail. But my question first is that did you try to pin the version of Julia that they mentioned? They said that from one version upward. So did you try to use that particular, let's say they say from 1.1 upward, did you use the exact number, not the latest one, just to see if it does not conflict with the other packages?
Yeah, I did that, but I guess the other package at the same time. Then at some point where I made that compatibility drew me back because of the GPU.
So were you using the latest version of the other packages as well?
Yes, though after some time, due to my trying to try the versions, I used some specific versions, but I guess it was not just still working.
Yeah, okay.
Reduce the versions.
Because I was just it can be very annoying, challenging, it takes a lot of time when you're trying to resolve dependency issues. Recently I also ran into something like that in the code, and you have to be stubborn with it sometimes. So because if you're using the Julia version, that particular one that they mentioned, and the other versions are recent, it could be that they no longer support the previous version, so you have to downgrade to the point where they were supporting the Julia version, but maybe you tried all of those and maybe this is not the problem. Maybe the key problem was the fact that you need to be on GPU to be able to run this. I think maybe if you wanted to do a little bit more investigation, if you think it's worth your time, maybe this is the first thing to try to do, to try to get you using GPU to confirm if all of your problems just disappears once you get into like a GPU environment. But yeah, you can let me know and we can figure something out if you would like to invest a little bit more time into it. And you also mentioned about like the documentation was not great. I'm glad now that you have gone through the process and you have a better idea of how to document. And I hope you are documenting it as you're running it, because this is something that you can fork their repository to be your own version of their fork repository, and then you can prepare a README for future persons. And it could be that in the future, if someone wants to reproduce this work because you think it's a good work, and so that means maybe someone else will find it and they would want to reproduce it, then they could rely on your well-detailed documentation and your advancing science. That's what research is all about, right? There's only so much authors can do. You have to remember that they're trying to do a lot in that period of time, and at some point you pull a plug. It was like, this is all I can offer right now as an author, but then you hope that someone would find it and then they can carry the torch forward and something like that. And this is what you have done. You found it, and now it's up to you if you want to invest time to help make it better, or even it could inspire your own next project. Okay. This is the things I wanted to talk about to you. Hopefully it's helpful, but I'm hoping for questions from the audience. Anyone have questions?
There's a question in the chat.
Desire. Okay, thanks. I wasn't looking at it. So the question says, why couldn't you install Julia on Colab? Did you try Colab, first of all? If yes, why couldn't you install it there? Desire, you are on mute. Did we lose Josiah? Did it drop off?
Hello? Yeah.
Okay, you're on mute. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
You are no
My
longer
network
on
was
mute.
cut off.
Okay, no problem. Did you hear the
I said
question?
I would love to. I didn't hear that. I was logged out for like 1 minute.
So the question is, why couldn't you install Julia on Colab?
Oh yeah. I also explored that, but limitation is that what I'll be doing involves like terminal base, and I have to run on the existing Julia because I had to clone the repo and the rest. So there was like kind of limitation using just to have those folders organized and running on the environment and the sensors. So I do the installation myself on VS Code and the rest. So that's right. But I don't know, maybe there could have been a better way of using Colab that I didn't discover, but I tried that too. It was not really forthcoming, so I had to VS Code.
Okay. Does any like I understand what you mean. I think there's some workaround like integration, but like I'm not an expert on Colab, but we could look into that if that's an interesting direction. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
All right.
Or suggestions? Suggestion does not have to be questions. It also could be suggestions. Okay, seems not like it. I would like us to please thank Josiah again for his wonderful effort to reproduce the work reinforcement learning with Alex there, Esther, and a deep heuristics. I think Alex there. Last presenter for today is Bakari Kausara. Kausara, please share your screen. She will talk about our efforts to reproduce the automated spinal MRI labeling from reports using large language model.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Please let me know if you can't hear me. Okay. So I'll be presenting on the paper automated MRI labeling model, using the large language model. Right. Sorry if my voice is a bit low. Not feeling fine. The outline of this presentation will be at this, and without further ado, sorry. The goal of this paper was to create a model for to extract labels from reports automatically. Then also the authors wanted to use the extracted labels to train imaging models to classify these conditions. But I will be dealing with the language, the large language model section of this paper. These are the methodologies. The methodologies for the large language model. This is just a brief recap on this, and then same for the supervised learning. So for the experiment setup, I tried cloning the GitHub repository, and I used the Kaggl's notebook. I used the Google Colab at first, but I was running into like the other presenters have stated, memory constraints. I tried using Kaggle. The same thing actually occurred when I tried running the autolabel classifier command. But so due to the memory restraint, I actually couldn't go further with the results, but I decided to use like a lesser memory intensive model, which is hard. I'll say impressive because the language models they use seemed more bigger, and it was more fine-tuned. I don't know if that, but yeah. And then the original data set was not provided, so I tried outsourcing some data set on Kaggle, and yeah, and I decided to still keep the architecture of like the paper. So I just changed, because in the command line, you can state the language model you want to use from Transformers library. So I decided to just change the model used and then the data set. As I stated before, while running this project, due to the memory constraints, I could not implement the actual model used in the paper. And when I decided to use the GPT-2, it wasn't properly classifying the reports. And the data set I decided to use with another medical condition entirely, which is Alox Vegetas, is a degenerative arthritis on big toes, basically. So it wasn't properly classifying the result. That's GPT-2. Then the challenges I faced, like I said before, iterating, I guess. The memory constraints, which is was a big problem for me, because I tried using Google Colab and Kaggle, and then the data set access, the author actually said it was not available, which kind of limited could implement produce the result. if I decide to like specifically implement it the way the author did. For the evaluation extensions, I would suggest that the models that the author used, because I was not particularly able to reproduce it, I would suggest that the model the author used should be tested on a different report. And then if possible, exploring how the model's performance varied with different alpha parameters. Probably like changing the batch size, the learning rates. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kausar, for your efforts to reproduce this work. Yasha, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was wondering, maybe I missed it, sorry. You said you use GPT-2 because it's more resource efficient. Which model did the authors use in their original paper?
They use Sophia, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and Llama training, because those were the two major models that I saw in the paper. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, thanks. And just to clarify, how did the results change from what was reported in? Were you just one step back? Were you able to get some results with GPT-2?
Yeah.
Okay. How did the results differ from the Llama model?
Okay. So when I ran the pre-trained model, I guess, and I used a different data set and in the ALOX, right? So let me say when I got the report, I tried running it, then I was just saying I imputed like a condition that was close to ALOX rigidus, and it still gave me a yes that ALOX rigidus was present, and when in fact it wasn't present. And yeah, so that's how I knew that I was probably classifying it right. And yeah.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Oh, this also, thanks a lot for that nice question, Yasha. So could be also this capacity of the model. GPT-2 is a smaller version, right, of this powerful Llama series and so on. So did you try to, I don't know if this is possible, but what is the challenge with just using like ChatGPT for the same problem? Is it like it's not, you cannot incorporate the flow, or you need to fine tune something? I forgot. What was the setup again?
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. So I will probably say I didn't fine tune enough, right? And also when I was testing compared to Llama 3 and Sapphire that are like 500, that could take like 500 technical characters. I'll say GPT-2 could only like take like 1,024, right? So I would say that probably I didn't fine tune enough, or if I tried fine tuning, I probably have gotten a better result.
Okay. So would you like to continue to invest time in this, or you don't think it's worth investing time? You just like to work in something different?
I would actually. Why I said that because I'm interested in the second part of the paper, which is the one that involves like classification of images.
Yeah.
So I actually
Okay.
I'm interested to see how like language models can be used with image classification. So yeah.
Okay, that's really good because I'm offering you like a free mentorship session, if you will. So if you have questions you want to brainstorm with someone and you have
Okay.
some results you want to discuss, you can just hit us up and then you can schedule like a call or something like that.
Okay.
So because today's the last day of the cohort, does not mean that today's the last day we'll have our work together, right? I want you to know that if you want to pursue this, you're really excited about it, we're going to try to help you make that happen. And if it's resources, we try to figure out how to make it happen. But the first thing is to first see that you've invested time, right? You
Yeah.
want to do this,
Yeah.
and then it's like, now, okay, what can we do to help you make it happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. This has been an
Thank
amazing
you.
turnout. Like, this is the first time we have this kind of cohort, like this particular structure. We've had our first research cohort was focused more on research projects, and then this time around we decided to try another format. And whenever we were brainstorming about this, I wasn't sure if it was going to work out, throwing everyone into this, like within 2 weeks, you need to reproduce the paper and everything. But it was like, let's see how it works out. So I'm really glad that the four of you have like you've done something with it. And I hope that all the participants and presenters have found the cohort informative, at least, that or helpful, or like you're now better off now than you were like 5 weeks ago. I hope. So this is what I would like to unpack or discuss in our next session, which is supposed to be interactive. We'll go on Mentimeter 2, where I'll be asking you some questions, and I hope that you would answer honestly, because your response help us a lot. We look at the feedback that you give, and for future cohorts, it helps to inform us on what the needs of the community are. We only have so much resources, right? We don't have infinite, and everyone is putting a lot of time. We want to make sure that it is in something that is needed, not just like another cohort or like a checkpoint, a check mark. Yeah, that we've run this, we run that. We really do care about the outcome of this kind of activities. So let's take 2 minutes break and to fill out the attendance form. We'll come back after 2 minutes to interact a bit and get your feedback about the entire cohort. Another round of applause to our presenters. Thank you so, so very much for your effort. Well, welcome back, everyone. I think we have some challenges on the chat. Are you able to fill the attendance form? No, is it just one person that couldn't do that? Can someone please confirm if you're able to fill the attendance form?
Yes, the link is open now.
It's open now. Thank you.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah, thanks for the feedback. Okay, so while you're trying to fill the form, I would like to move to our interactive session. For this one, let's use Mentimeter. So please bring out your phones so that we can do this. The Mentimeter tool is here. Let me quickly present this particular slide. What has happened? Oh no, what have I done? The site is down. Oh, this is fascinating. Did you see are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like the slide is for no, not for okay, this is not nice. The Scheiße for sure. Wow. Okay. I need to figure out how to make this work. I cannot, like, all the questions are on here. I would have just gonna, oh, technology. Wow, I didn't see this coming. Okay, probably my fault. Maybe they put it somewhere that I missed that there would be a scheduled maintenance. Okay, okay, okay. That's okay. We can improvise. Let's see. All right, no problem. So we need to improvise. I'll stop sharing my screen. Seems like we cannot have that interactive session after all. But essentially, we would like to know how you've been feeling about this cohort, and I'm just going to ask the questions, and anyone can respond. First of all, the first question I think we heard, and thank you, Tola, for sending me this question on WhatsApp. So maybe this was a good one. So the first question I have is that how was the research cohort for you? This is open-ended question right now. Just if you'd like to share your experience, well, how has it been helpful or not helpful for you? Anyone can unmute and talk.
Hi, Tejmadi. I'd like to speak
Hi,
to Zion.
please go
Yes,
ahead.
so
Please go ahead.
yes, so this quad session has been very helpful for me. I one of the things that prompted me to actually apply was because I've been struggling to even read the paper. Like just even, read the paper, not even knowing that I would be selected to even present and so so it's just so fulfilling to know that not only that I can even read the paper now, I even know what it takes to actually even run those experiments. So that's it for me.
Oh, that's such a good thing to hear. Thank you, Zion. And I hope in the future when we ask you for testimonial, this is still how you. This is amazing. Do we have any other person who would like to share your experience? Please share your experience. Let us know how you felt about this cohort. What was it? What made you decide to apply? And do you think that has been achieved? Just anything.
Hi,
Go,
hi, good.
go ahead. Oh, Chizuru. By the way, Chizuru, it's been a long time friend of AST Lagos, and was one of our earlier students, and he's been part of the community. He's been very silent for this research cohort, but I see you. So please go ahead.
Thank you. So my contribution is when I heard about like this program, I've been hearing about research and I've been reading research papers as well. But personally, there has been this I'll call it there have been some myths in my mind concerning research, especially when it comes to like when I think research, I think of very complex equations, like mathematical equations that I don't understand. And like that always used to discourage me or frighten me from like exploring deep into it. I actually met a friend recently that was very, very active in like trying to reproduce research papers. And I said, okay, let me try and like just attend and see how the cohort is going to go. Because the first cohort that happened, I wasn't able to attend it. So this cohort has actually been very interesting and it has helped in demystifying the entire research process to me. I can see that it's not as difficult as I thought it used to be. And it has actually brought some excitement back, like concerning the field and like seeing the new things that is going on and all that. It's giving me motivation to like actually try and on my own free time check out like what's going on in the field, like check out the top research papers, like the interesting areas I'm interested in, and see maybe how if it's possible for me to contribute in one way or the other. So thank you very, very much for organizing this cohort. I've actually really enjoyed it. And I'm
Oh,
happy to
thank you so much, Isro. Like it's always a joy to have you part of the like any of our cohorts. You've always brought your light, and hopefully the next cohort you're not attending only, you're organizing as well, but no pressure. So thank you so much. Do we have any other reflection from the audience? And I'll also invite my co-organizers to please maybe put on your camera if that's not too much pressure, so it's not just me looking at the names. So hi. So
Yeah.
okay, we can go in turn. Oh yeah, go ahead, Josiah. Then maybe Yasha, you also had some questions on WhatsApp. You can also ask that, so we can go in turns. Now we're improvising. So Josiah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think prior to when I saw the application on LinkedIn, so I was working towards my final year project and it involves research. So and also I want to also like I plan to go into research before the end of the year just to understand, and reading research papers can be very you just have this kind of headache and you just stop halfway and the rest. So when I registered and due to the guidance and all, like I was able to like do more research on my own, like how do you read research papers actually, and it was really impactful. Then I think the hands-on part made it more impactful and like got me more in the fact that we were told to select the papers we're interested in, and I'm more interested in like applying AI in yes maybe autonomous vehicles and kind of robotics kind of lines. So the fact that I was able to choose what I want, and thanks to Jessica for his guidance, I think on mail, I always on the mail every time. So it was really. And I remember when I read the paper he suggested, I was just confused. What is this? So going further, I was able to see that Paystar, okay, I was looking CNN, okay, and I was able to like get it. Then reproducing it again was another big deal. Also, at least I've learned a lot and I'll be able to like complete the rest. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to give everyone an insight. So when we were planning for this cohort, we wanted to make sure that people can present, and ideally we would have loved everyone that applied to present, but we looked at the what's administrative cost, like we had over 100 applicants. So how do you schedule that? And not everyone has the same skills. So we had to make a choice to say, okay, what if we focus on 10 presentations that we can fit into 2 hours, but we still make it open for every person that is interested to attend so they can learn hopefully from this process. And in the next cohort, maybe there would be the presenters, or maybe we would have to extend the hours and so on. So it was really like a learning and trying out, is this model going to work? How should we structure it so that everyone learns from it and benefits from it? So I'm glad to hear that you found it informative. And yeah, Yasha, so I throw it to you to ask your questions also.
My questions. Yeah, I was curious for the participants, like which part of the research process, like going from starting a project to presenting it at a conference or having it in a journal, which part is still unclear to the participants, and they would have loved some more clarity in which part of the process, or if there's any.
Did you understand the question? Is there someone who would like to share? Which part of the research process is still unclear to you right now, and you would have liked more clarity about, or you would love more clarity about in the future? Okay, we are thinking about it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Josiah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'll be more interested in like publishing. And I would love to get more clarity in publishing papers. I know we did that. I think it was in week 2. Yeah. Or just to maybe a walkthrough process of maybe publishing the paper successfully. I don't know how long that will take, but just to see that happen.
Okay, nice. How to publish a paper. You'll have to get your paper published. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Do we have any other person we'd like to share, or like everything you ever thought about was covered? Like we're just amazing.
I actually want to follow up on Josiah. So could you walk me through what your understanding is right now, and then maybe you can just go back and forth.
Do you mean on publishing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So at least from the lecture, so I was able to learn. I've forgotten the person that took the class, but talking about like you have to, for you to even write the research paper, the first thing is like trying to understand the problem before jumping into writing and trying to figure out the solution. To understand the problem critically is very much important before you think of solutions and check existing papers and the rest. Then she talked about, I think, several is it publication you can get to do, but maybe I didn't really get the part of like okay, she's talking about sending it, some will reject, some will, but like maybe like a practical maybe stuff on how the whole process happened, or maybe involving us in publishing without that. But I need to take a longer time for that to happen. So that's it.
Okay, I see. So essentially, it's a bit about how to write a paper, which content to include there, so it does get published. Did I get this correctly?
Yeah. To
Okay.
include the publishing part.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I have another question here, which is, which of the sessions from week 1 to week 5 did you enjoy the most? Or, yeah, what was your best session? I mean, you would probably know what your best session is at this point. Was a reminder, in week 1, we talked about introduction to technical papers. And it was the topics that were covered was like components of a research paper, like key strategies to reading it, how do you critically analyze the paper. And week 2 was about the research process from ideation to publication, where we talked about how to choose exciting research topics, choosing your supervisor, and so on, the highs and lows of research, presenting your ideas. Week 3 was on paper presentation, where we learned about the different papers from our presenters. Week 4 was about the paper reproducibility, where we talked about this is week 5. Week 4 was implementation and evaluation of research paper, where we talked about how to identify research question, consider feasibility of a research project, and so on. So out of all of this, what would you consider your favorite session, and that you found the most helpful or informative, or you loved the most?
Maybe everyone can post the number of the week into the chat, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah.
So we can see some numbers.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks. Okay. Oh, week 4. 4 is taking the lead right now. 4, 2. Okay, 2. Okay, week 2. 2, definitely my best. Week 1. Amazing. All right. 1 and 5. Oh, thank you, Foloa. You like this week already. Like this one that's ongoing. Nice. Okay, I see some numbers. By the way, everyone, I know this session is not going as we planned. We wanted to get some data, but is it okay to send you the questions like after the class, and you can help us fill it at your own time? Would really help us to plan for the next cohort if we see your answer to that. But just as a heads up, I'll send another email after the class, and with a Google form, and then hopefully you can fill it and tell us how you feel. Is that okay? Can you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll send it later on. Well, let's continue. We'll do this. We'll take maybe 2 more questions, and then we'll go into the closing remark. Shadrach, do you want to ask something?
Yeah, I think I want to. Hi, everybody. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are
I have
audible.
I have PTSD from my last.
No, I'm so sorry.
But yeah. So it's nice to see everybody again. So I think we all, or most likely everybody, came in with like an expectation. So I think my question would be, did we actually meet the expectation? Like, did we as organizers, did the whole cohort meet the expectation? If not, what is the, or what were you expecting, or did you look to get out of the cohort so that we can, as Teju said, plan and get better the next cohort?
Yeah.
So I think that's my question.
Thank you so much. That's an excellent question. For the first one, can you just put it in the chat? Yes, no. I mean, there's no hard feeling there. You can put no. I mean, I'll just follow up to say, please, why?
Yeah.
What did we not do right? So tell us. Did we meet your expectation? You can just put it. Yes, we say yes. Thank you, Zai. And while we are answering that, if your expectation was not met completely, can you just like unmute to tell us if you would like, what would you have? Oh, look at my girl, Tola. Good to see you. What you were expecting, or what was not met? This is just a learning. It's a free flow conversation. No judgment. We appreciate it. Please be honest.
It seems like we exceeded expectations because
No, I feel like people are just humble. They're
I just
trying
been
not to
nice.
make us. No, that's the word, nice. Trying to not make us feel bad.
I mean, it's fine. We take no. We take no. It's like, it's fine.
Oh yes, it's all part here. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so Zainab, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not saying that you didn't meet my expectations, though you did. I just wanted to ask for tips on reproducing a paper, because that's one of the reasons I applied. Even though I learned a lot today, but like personally, if I want to try it out, so just tips. Thank you.
Okay. So tips on how to reproduce a paper. Yosha, you have more experience than me right now about this.
I'm not sure if that's true. This is a very hard question to answer in general because every paper is kind of its own spin, and authors do like it's not like there's a template the authors follow. So in general, one thing is if you understand what the authors in detail are doing, probably easier if you look at the code to understand what's happening. So it's probably, let's say, the first step to really understand the technical part of the paper. And how I like to approach this is first, okay, get it even running, like make it do something. Once that is done, then can figure out how to get your own data into their model, their program, whatever is that you reproduce. And then kind of, yeah, go from there. And what in practice I often do is write essentially a wrapper around that, so if you write a research paper, you often compare to a few state-of-the-art methods, and then it's quite convenient to have essentially the same interface for all methods, and every method will have its own interface. So if you write a nice small little wrapper for each, then you can just test multiple methods with the same interface. That makes it a bit easier if in the end you usually run a bunch of experiments to show that whatever you are proposing in the new paper performs better on a certain aspects, that you can just have the same interface for all of them. But there's no one way to reproduce a paper because each paper is too unique, like has its own quirks in a way. Hope this helps a bit.
Yeah. Hope it helps a bit. I don't have much to add to that, but I do see that it can be very challenging to start with. And I think as all of the presenters have done today, will just be, find a code that has find a paper that has code online and try to run it and try to see what the challenges you faced, and then you can go from there. It's really a try and error, honestly. It's a lot of back and forth. Sometimes just does not work.
And that doesn't really go away. Like,
yeah,
this is always if you pick up a new project, a new publication, you want to run their method, it's often quite a struggle to get it running and to do what you want. So this is just part of the process. But, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Oluwa, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for the session today. Please, I have a question about references. Yeah, so at times when I'm reading a paper, when you get to the ending of the paper, you can see a particular paper has 30, 20 plus references. So my question actually is it that the author of those papers actually understand all the references they included in the paper? Because I'm kind of wondering, like, if you have 30 references, is it that the author have read all those papers and know that this particular text in the paper we are referencing it, or how do you go about such problem?
Oh, wow. I can talk from my own experience, right? So usually when you're writing a paper, you've done a bunch of literature review, and it involves you trying to find evidence for the thing you are pitching to the community. So you're trying to find out, is there any related work? You don't want to miss anyone. But I don't think authors have completely understood all the citation. Citation comes in to support something you're saying. You say that this model performs well on this particular initialization okay, who said that? Where did you find that information? So you have to cite the source. So it means that you've like maybe you've looked at the not maybe you have looked at the paper, you've scanned through it, and they claim it in that paper. So, but I don't necessarily think that the authors have tried to reproduce that particular paper. But the papers that you can be so sure that the authors have tried to reproduce and probably understand a bit more about would be the baseline method, because sometimes they need to reproduce it to put it in as a comparison for their method, or sometimes they take the like the numbers from that paper. But either way, they must have really interacted a lot with that particular paper to be certain that it's a useful baseline to compare their method against. This is my experience, but Yosha, do you have something to add to that? How do you, for your papers, do you like read all of the references, all your citations in depth, like you know everything by heart? I mean, you could now, you're in your final year, but yeah.
No, of course not. This often you kind of get the general idea of what they are doing, and like as Teju explained, it very much depends how you cite a paper. If you're just discussing what other people have done in related work and how it differs from you don't need to understand every detail. It's sufficient to understand the basic idea what they're doing. And yeah, once you start to compare to them, yes, as Teju said, then you start to understand them more deeply. If you're actually building on top of something, then you really understand a paper. So and yeah, it's often there to support one claim. And so authors usually do not understand or fully all papers they cite or in every detail. They have an idea what the paper does. That's how I would phrase it.
Yeah. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
You're very welcome. We are open to questions, and we can take more questions if you have questions. Chala, if you also have questions you would like to ask, we could take questions from you. Okay, Enoch as Enoch, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much for the quotes. It has been very, very awesome. I would say it has been very wonderful for me because especially from week 2, I learned a lot from the ideation to publication part. And however, I would say I wasn't really because I wanted to apply for, I wanted to present rather, but I wasn't selected, and it's kind of pained me a bit. But well,
I'm so sorry. Oh no.
Yeah, it's no problem. But
you would have made a great presenter. You're still here until the last week, right? I'm so sorry.
No problem. But you already explained as to why that couldn't happen. So it's quite understandable. But I actually learned a lot, and it was actually awesome. I would like to also ask if moving forward, would there be opportunities for like mentorship, sort of like something like mentorship and all that? I'll be very glad.
Thanks, Enoch, for that question. And please, I'm so sorry as well. So it was really difficult to do the selection. Yosha and I was very much involved in this. We looked at all of the application. And one of the first things that we selected was if you put paper that we can even find online. I think this was it. So like we started from that. The applicants give us paper that is available online, then we now move to like, okay, what kind of paper is it? Is it reproducible or is this? And then we try to balance across things like the domain and also the gender. And so, all this diversity quota to select 10 people. And but as you can see, like there are false negatives. Is that like, like, you don't select someone, but they would have made great presenter for the cohort. Yeah, so it's part of the process sometimes, but thank you for applying and for your interest in presenting. And I hope you still found it helpful, regardless. So you asked about mentorship. Yes, I mean, I'm always like, we're always here. The nice thing about being a student of AST Lagos is that now you have access to all of the organizers. You have access to me as well, and then so you can like always reach out if you had questions, you want to have a quick meeting. I mean, I will like specify when I'm available. We'll have this and that, but I do meet with like past cohort students. I met with one recently as well because he had an idea about a startup and then we're just like chatting. So I want to say that like I'm your de facto mentor, or so to say. If you have questions, we'll follow because we've interacted through this cohort. And it's the same for all the organizers of AI Saturdays. Actually, you always have access to us, but in terms of like mentorship session, that is a structured one. We don't have that right now at the Lagos, but Deep Learning Indaba has that. So I can also share it as a like a follow-up like avenue to find mentors. So Deep Learning Indaba has a mentorship like committee that help to match you to a mentor, like a one-time mentorship. So you have to say what you want, and then like maybe you need mentorship on a paper or an idea, and they're trying to find you the right match, and they help you with that one-time mentorship. The mentor is not like does not have to continue to mentor you all the time. It's usually based on like need. You need advice on this, you find someone to help you with that, you go on to do things, and if you need advice again, you can reach out. So I just want to mention that as an avenue to seek mentorship. But yeah, so I hope that answers your questions a little bit, Enoch. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm not promising like immediate response. You have to understand that there's a lot of things also on my plate, but I do try. But yeah, this is what I want to say.
How do we reach you?
You can reach me via my I mean, actually, if you probably know my email address right now, but if you don't, I can put it here as or maybe you can reach us through ai6lagos@gmail.com. That is email address for AI6Lagos, but my email address is tmafonjero. So I just put it on chat. So that's my personal email address, but you can also please CC AI6Lagos gmail.com because like it's the community email address, and I manage that as well. So I see everything that's going on. Okay, so I think now we are almost on time. Well, actually, we have 2 more minutes, but I still have a closing remark to make. So maybe I can make that. But Tola wanted to say something. Tola, would you still like to say something?
Okay, yes. So I just wanted to ask a question. I wanted to ask what are the things that people are looking forward to in the next cohort? Like, do we want a research session like this? Do we want practical hands-on? So something like that. That's the question.
Thank you, Tola. We can take that. We'll probably stay like maybe 5 or 10 more minutes if you have the time for the closing remark. But please prefer to share what you would like to see more of in future cohort, future research cohort. A mix of both, okay. Hands-on and also research, okay. A mix, okay. Okay, we see. So people would like a mix of both. We'll try to figure out the best way to do it. So do you also like this 5 weeks commitment, or would you have liked it to be longer or shorter? I think would really help to know what you prefer. You can put it on chat also quickly. I don't mind it. I don't mind longer, but definitely not shorter. That's very good feedback. Any other person? Because I think this was a very packed session. Usually, if you know about the work we do at the IS of the Lagos, our cohort runs for 16 weeks most of the time. But this is the first time we're having like a very short cohort, which is 5 weeks. So, I lost something that was spanned for months. Like that day I said the Lagos, it's like 4 months commitment. It's a lot. But okay, I see that people like it longer, not shorter than this. Okay, all right. Okay, thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you so much to my wonderful co-organizer for helping to, we just, this was not how we planned the session, but we improvised well. Great work, team. So I just wanted to quickly wrap this up on this note, right? So AS of the Lagos, who are we? We are a free-to-attend community-driven initiative. We're focused on democratizing AI knowledge across Africa. And we do this through teaching, research, and innovation. And this cohort has been about the research part, where we hope to give you the knowledge or like share with you what research entails. And the research cohort has run for 1 month over since the first Saturday in November, and this is the last Saturdays for the research cohort 2. It was open to anyone that's interested in research, and the goal, as I mentioned earlier, was to help you effectively read, present, or extend a work that you have found. So we had presenters and we had attendees, and attendees that are not presenting. So again, the goal was different for both groups of people. For all the participants, we hope that they would learn how to read a research paper. I was like, what are the things to pay attention to? They would understand the research process, which was what we went into in week 2. They would gain the knowledge to participate in paper reading. We did a little bit of this also. I think that was in week 2 where we went into this what's it called again, Zoom breakout room, where we quickly look at the paper, but we didn't read it together. So and then we were hoping that you, like, from the 10 paper that we selected or 8 paper on the GitHub, you at least you're interested in any one of them and you interacted or maybe try to read it. But of course, we did not task you to reading it from the A to Z, or we only task the presenters with that. So for the presenters, in addition to the above goals, we hope that they've actually learned how to interpret and reproduce the experiment in a paper. And we saw that happened here in some of the presentations we listened to this morning. We hope that they would present the paper to both technical and non-technical audience. And I think this is what we did. Okay, so Shadrach said teaching, research, innovation, a lovely triangle. Actually, that's the name of our NGO. It's called tryai.org. So so what was it like? What should you have expected as an attendee? We said you should expect 5 weeks of meeting, discussion, and engaging with the fellow researchers, which I believe happened. We should expect workshop series, roundtable discussions from week 1, week 2, and week 4 that was developed by seasoned researchers from academia, industry, and research institutes. And this happened. Our week 1 presenter was from Research Institute Cohort for AI, Cohort, which is also industry. Our week 2 workshop was from academia and also some of our panelists and so on. And I am from a research institute both academia and research institute. We also said that participation in research paper discussion in week 3 and week 5, and a certificate of participation. And for the presenter, we said that we would like you to be able to, participate in paper presentation in week 3, reproduce in week 5, and also you would receive a different certificate as a ASF Lagos research scholar if you meet the criteria. And what was the criteria? This was what we tasked you as your part. Your part to be eligible for attendance certificate, you need to have attended 100%. And I was very strict about this because it's a very short cohort. And I thought that this is the minimum we can ask. We're not asking you to do assignments or anything. We just want you to attend. And it was even now, like I relaxed it to say, even if you don't attend the live session every Saturday, if you watch the video and fill the attendance form, and then you let us know, we can, we can consider you as attending the class. As long as you actually watch the video and recap, and you're able to fill the form and answer the questions. So I think we've been lenient, but we want to make sure that ASF Lagos certificate is not something that you just get from some people like certificate is nice, but we want you to mean something. We want you to feel like it means something. You've worked a little bit to get that, and that's usually the way we do things. Mostly in our cohort, there's always some requirements to be able to receive it. And for the presenters, the requirement is that you need to also achieve that 100% attendance rate. You need to be a presenter, and you need to present in week 3 and week 5. So that's what makes your ASF Lagos research scholar. And we will be sending out the certificate in the next week, by the end of next week, if everything works out well. But we already have all the data that we need to be able to send you the certificate. So stay tuned. And I just want to let you know that the attendance rate versus week. So we received 125 responses to our call for application. Congratulations if you're still here. All 33 of you that are still here today. So in week 1, we had over 62 people that filled the attendance rate. That filled attendance form. We had 62 people fill the attendance form. So maybe more people joined that and didn't fill the attendance form, but this is the data that we have in week 1. And in week 2, 49, week 3, 44, and we try to do this projection of the decline in attendance rate. It's always like that. You start with a high number of people, and then you see a little bit of decline. But you can see that it was not between week 2, 3, and 4. It's not as much. Like by week 2, people that are people that are interested are still like reoccurring set of people. So congratulations, like raising a glass to you. You've made it this far. I am very proud of every one of you, and thank you for sticking with us till the end. I would like to thank our workshop speakers and panelists. Odumakinde Ayomide was our week 1 speaker. Thank you so much. Wherever I hear was our week 2 speaker. I'm very grateful for your support. And Sewade Ogun was our week 4 workshop presenter. So thank you so much, Sewade, as well. And to all of our panelists, in week 1, we had myself and Tobias, and I don't have the picture of our panel moderator here, which was probably it's a mistake, I forgot. But I would really like to thank Jerry for doing an amazing work in week 1 to moderate the panel session. And in week 2, we had Khadija and Yosha. Thank you so much, with Oreva, of course, for the panel discussion. And in week 4, we had Saha, Olumide, and myself as moderator, along with Sewade as panelists. So thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of it and for giving your time for free to democratize AI knowledge and help with research and sharing your knowledge. And this cohort would not have been possible at all without my wonderful, wonderful co-organizers. And many of them have been organizing the cohorts for the past 6 years. So specifically, Femi Aziz is my co-founder. We started this journey together in 2018, and we've been riding it together since then. Is currently the head of data science at Pastel. So you've not seen much of him in this cohort because he's in Canada and the time difference, like it's just probably waking up right now. So it's really difficult for him to join in the classes. Kenichi Duko has been my co-organizer also. He was our student in the first cohort that we held, and then invited him as an organizer, which is what we do most of the time. So the first cohort, it was just me and Femi. The second cohort, we had more organizers. And so thank you so much, Kenichi. Kenichi also could not really join the classes because it's in the United States and the timing is not working very well, as you can tell. Tola has also been a long-term organizer, also like Kenichi. She joined as a student in the first cohort and proceeded to become an organizer. And Tola has been consistent. It's a blessing. So Tola, Kenichi, Femi, myself were core organizers of AI Saturdays. And we also have Shadrach, who was one of our students and became an organizer for the last cohort and also now for the research cohort. I'm so grateful. And as well as Sheo. Sheo also was a student and then now he's an organizer. And Ejiro was also part of our students. So I think Yosha is the only one that was never a student, but he has been part of the organizing committee for like the last cohort and also the hackathon here hack that we held. So I just want to say that all of the people here have been dedicated their time to research, to supporting the community. It's not easy, honestly. It's a lot of work, but I'm really grateful for their persistence and for their support. It would not happen without them. So thank you so much. And all of the organizers that have been part of the cohort but are not this particular research cohort organizer. I'm thanking them all as well. I cannot name everyone. We've had so many organizers and co-organizers as well. So you'll probably be seeing them in future cohorts, but they're not organizing for this cohort. Next steps. Honestly, this is my last slide with information for you to do something. So we would like you to fill this form if you have interest in participating in a research project in the future. I'm just collecting this data to understand, to gauge interest and to see maybe we can work together on a practical project in like future cohort. So if this is something you would like, I would encourage you to fill this form. I don't know if you can type it, or it would be nice if I copy it and put it in the chat. But maybe I can do that later. And also, I would invite you to join our Google groups. Everyone is there. You should be there right now. So I want you to do that right now. Join the Google groups so that we can have you there and then we can continue this conversation. Please follow us on Twitter. We post on Twitter a lot, and we have a lot of follow-up as well. So Twitter is where it's one of our very key dissemination, like social media that we use, and as well as LinkedIn. So follow us on LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much, Abdulaziz, for painstakingly typing it out and sharing it. Thank you. You made a mistake. AI6 Lagos, you were to tag us, but yeah, thanks. So this is it. This is it. That's a wrap. That's it. Everyone, thank you so very much for being here, and we hope to see you next time. This is AI Saturdays Lagos. Bye-bye.
Thank
Until next time.
thank
Until next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.